Arg, me mateys, welcome to the King of Seas, and that's dedicated to, well, you know who you are. And before we head off into the seas, why not hit that like and subscribe button to keep yourself up to date with all my latest videos. And also, why not join us in our community Discord, link below. And lo, let us find out whether King of Seas is going to make it onto the Wall of Fame, or the Wall of Shame, or somewhere in that middle bit. Gameplay. Let's kick off a little bit about the story. Well, basically, you're framed for a murder you did not do, and it's kind of like a bit of a cliched story that, mostly everyone probably have heard of before. The story is told through these like conversation bits through the actual progression of the game, and it's kind of weird because they kind of like tell it almost as if they're kind of like making it obvious and telling you exactly what's happening instead of having like a natural conversation between each other. I found it a little slow as well, and also some of the jokes were kind of hit and miss, and it just felt a bit awkward at times. As for the game, well, you start the game as a lot of other games like this. You pick a difficulty and then you pick a character out of two. You could be male or female, and slowly you get into the actual game. The controls weren't too bad. In the navigation, you get to control your actual ship. It was a little bit fiddly, but apart from that, it was okay. And then the actual fighting, the battling was, again, a little tiny bit fiddly. But again, it was okay and served its purpose, and had plenty of options for you to actually use during battles. Not to mention abilities that you gain as you surpass certain levels. And what would a pirate game be if you couldn't buy and sell and stuff? Well, basically you can port up in a, port, and buy, sell, do up your ship, buy different weaponry, buy new crew members, put stuff into the bank where you can access in different ports, and also this is where you can also get all your quests from, your side quests, not the main quests. And there's plenty there, although as time goes on it kind of like gets a bit samey and you'll feel like you're doing the same missions over and over again. And this is all explained to you, and as you get further and further in you start opening up more of the game. But wow, what a slow start. It's so, I don't know, boring or just slow in general. It just takes a long while to get actually into the game, to the point where I just felt it was so dull. Luckily enough, there are things to keep your interest, like every time you do most things, including picking stuff up out of the water, you gain XP. You can level up, and after you reach level 10 you get like a talent tree, and you can upgrade loads of different things here, and you even get voodoo in this universe, so that's a pretty cool twist on everything. When you're traversing the waters you even get things like shipwrecks, random fights or battles, explosives barrels in the actual water that you have to avoid. And did I mention there's a zoom in and out button, and this is so cool, but I'll mention more about this a little bit later. So as I mentioned, it is a little bit dull to start with, but I do say that when you actually get into it it's not so bad, but I feel it could have actually been a lot better, and I really do feel it's slightly overpriced as well. But as I said, if you can get past that like dullness at the start, it does actually start to pick up a little bit more and start feeling like you're actually a pirate on the open seas. And then it kind of lets itself down a little bit by getting a tiny bit grindy and a tiny bit repetitive. Graphically, well, I do actually like these graphics. It's a little bit laggy, definitely a little bit laggy, and the frame rate dipping here and there almost constantly whilst playing the game. That zoom I mentioned before, I love it. When it's zoomed out it looks okay. When you zoom in, I really do like the actual look of the actual pirate ships and the places that you visit. The only thing that lets it down is I wanted it to be a bit more, when you're travelling around, yes, there's some seagulls here and there. Sometimes it just feels really barren, like there's nothing there. I know it's a ship and sea and that's all you're probably expecting, but I don't know, maybe they could have just done something more to keep it interesting on your long travels here and there. The sea glistens quite nicely. There's like fireflies on some of the islands, and it's got a night and day like cycle. The other thing is that all the characters all look the same. Once you've been to one tavern, you've pretty well seen every character in the game, which I would have kind of like thought they would just make it different, so you know, the interactions felt a bit different and fresh. And I did like your sails, the fact that you can put them up and down visually is quite a nice touch. Sound wise, it's okay, it does what it needs to do. There's some nice little chanter that you can hear when you're at ports, and yeah, the music's actually fine. I quite like it. It's very piratey and very recognisable as piratey. When you're in battle, you can hear all the noises from the cannons and all that lot. Yeah, it certainly does what it needs to do. The good. When you actually get into the game, there is actually quite a good amount of pirating and fun to actually have here. I really do like the look of it, and there's plenty of options as well. Do love that zoom option, it's quite cool. The bad. The frame rate issues isn't ideal, and that beginning, the slowness, the way it made me personally feel like it was dull, really didn't help matters, and I almost put it down and didn't go back to it. The score, well, I think I'm going to give this straight up a 3 out of 5. If you can get past that beginning, which was so boring to me, then there is a half decent game here. I think it's a slightly overpriced, but you do get a little bit of that money back from the amount of things that you can upgrade and actually do in the game, even though it does get a bit repetitive after a while. And as for my alternative, I don't know many pirate games on the actual Switch. I'm going to say Port Royale 4. Yeah, it's slightly different, but I think you'll get plenty out of it. I really did enjoy it. It's a really good in-depth game. I know it's slightly pricey, but I mean, if you don't want to pay that much, maybe wait for if it comes down in a discount and pick it up then. Although if you know a better alternative, please leave it down in the comments. As well as your thoughts on King of Seas itself. What do you think about it? Will you be picking it up or not? Don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button to keep up to date with all my latest videos and content, and also join us down in the community Discord. We're a lovely bunch of people, and yeah, we always like to chat to new people with like-minded thoughts, because life is better when we switch together.